this plan that we're putting forward today is a continuation of the comprehensive energy strategy the Commissioner spoke about. The comprehensive energy plan has a big commitment to transportation, and it calls for the investment in clean fuels and vehicles so the basic infrastructure is in place for the next generation of vehicles. The plan was designed with the consumer in mind. It's really about comparing the incremental cost and different technologies and fuel savings to determine the payback. It's not picking a winner. It's about making sure the consumer education is there so our consumers are educated and they can make the best choice for them.
And Ann, can I emphasize one other thing, which is another core principle of the strategy as a whole, and certainly the transportation piece, is that we operate in an era of limited government budgets. And what's critical is that we're going to use limited government funds to really leverage private capital. This is about the private sector taking the lead in building out that which is needed out over time and providing the choices. So the government wants to be a partner, but in some important respects, a junior partner to what we think will be the leadership from the business community.
Thank you, Commissioner. Because of the governor's leadership and the commissioner's direction, we're well on our way and had a lot going on before we even started putting this next plan together. So I'm going to start by giving you the things already underway. You have to recognize Connecticut is a relatively small state. We have relatively short commutes, and we are very reliant, unfortunately, on single occupancy vehicles. Hopefully that will start to change as our partners at DOT continue to build out mass transportation, but the car is reality in Connecticut. And those cars are heavily reliant on gasoline and diesel. But where we really have the great opportunity in Connecticut is we have clean electricity and a very robust fuel cell industry. So to meet our energy needs, the environmental challenges, and build the foundation for economic prosperity, we need to increase the number of what I call zero-emission vehicles. The Commissioner is calling them clean fuel vehicles. And to that end, we've been putting a lot of our energy into something we call EVConnecticut. And that's the effort to build out a robust charging network across the state. So everybody has the opportunity to own and drive electric vehicles. Also, we've been working, I should say Joel has been working through CCAT on the hydrogen infrastructure. We have one hydrogen filling station, and we need to prepare for that growth as the auto manufacturers go to fuel cell vehicles. So there's a lot underway already in Connecticut. Our EVConnecticut program has moved steadily forward. We've increased the number of charging stations. We hope very shortly to be able to tell you we have blanketed the state and people can have complete confidence that electric vehicles can get them anywhere in the state. We focused heavily so far on the level 2 charging, which takes about 2 hours to charge a vehicle. And we've done multiple rounds of funding. And our next phase in build out of level 2 chargers is going to move to state agencies and municipalities. So there's a lot going on in that arena. We also, in partnership with DOT, have been working on fast chargers, the chargers that can fuel a vehicle in half an hour at our service plazas. There's a new charger operational in Darien. Greenwich is going to follow shortly. And we have charging infrastructure planned and getting ready to go into construction in Madison. And we're working on how to build out from there. So this program has been underway and is going to continue, and we're really excited to see the infrastructure complete in the next year. Joel has been doing a lot of work in the hydrogen arena and has been working on a plan for where we have the opportunity for hydrogen fueling stations. And this is his work, but that's underway as well. So this is all on top of what the governor's new direction is. And as the commissioner indicated, the governor signed a memorandum of understanding with total 8 states signed on. And we are committing to work together to assure that we have 3.3 million zero-emission vehicles on the road in the 8 states by 2025. There is regional work groups working together to look at various things we can do as a region, but we're moving ahead as a state already. We're not waiting for the others to catch up. So our concept really is the EVConnecticut and the efforts we have underway already, plus this new action plan, is going to drive us toward the MOU goal. The action plan is intended to be dynamic. What we're learning in our work here is this is a constantly changing field. Things evolve, so we've looked at it as a series of pilots. You try something and you adapt, and I see us continuing in that way. So the action plan is intended to be short-term things we can focus on and get done, recognizing we will revisit and change along the way. It won't be something that locks us in for the next 20 years of exactly what we're going to do, because we can't know that now. So from a background perspective for the transportation planners who may not have been as deeply engaged in our conversation so far, you need to understand that the transportation sector is the largest contributor of both greenhouse gas emissions and NOx emissions. NOx is the main problem pollutant that generates our ozone, our unhealthy air quality that causes people to be sick, increase hospitalizations, and even die in Connecticut. So it has big health costs to Connecticut not having clean air. And as I indicated earlier, we have very clean electricity, and therefore our capacity for getting clean cars powered by electricity is, I will say, better than most states. So it's an attractive alternative. Consumer choice. In 2002, there were only a few hybrid vehicles and not that many of those cars out there. Not that many years later, there are more and more plug-in vehicles, fuel cell vehicles coming into the market. But unfortunately, Connecticut isn't seeing the vehicle mix and alternatives that are available in California yet. So we have more work to do to make sure our consumers have the choice they deserve. So we've been thinking about why is it that consumers choose electric vehicles? And we need to continue our research in that area. We're doing that through a project with NESCOM and the other signatory states to this MOU and UC Davis, because we need to figure out how to reach the consumer and increase their awareness and do so effectively. Another area we are discussing within our regional and interstate work groups is the total cost of ownership, and that there needs to be an easy way and transparent way for the customer to see that. And as we've talked to the car manufacturers in various meetings and chat about how people pick cars, it's very interesting. There are people who set the maximum on what they want to spend, and that's how they make their decision. And people tend to look at the monthly payment and the fuel cost, and they're not necessarily looking comprehensively at the total cost of ownership. So we have education and work to do in that arena to help people make good decisions. As far as availability of the cars, where the market's going, and getting ourselves ready with infrastructure, we know there's a lot more zero-emission vehicle models available in California that aren't being made available here. We know that the plug-in vehicle sales are 3 times higher in the states that have adopted the California program like we have. And we're hearing from the auto manufacturers that many of them are going straight to the fuel cell future. And that's happening as soon as model year 2015, and you heard that from Hyundai. A lot of times, people talk about it takes incentives, and there are other states who are providing incentives. We have limited resources, we need to get the most out of our resources, and a lot of the incentives to buyers of vehicles require giving up, I will say, state resources or increasing taxes to provide them, and that's not really the mindset of Connecticut. So for our action plan strategies, again, under this MOU, the multi-state group is looking at what needs to be done to achieve the zero-emission vehicle goal, and we need to decide what Connecticut should be doing. So from Connecticut's perspective, we've reached the conclusion that zero-emission vehicles can be a foundation for our economic growth. And Joel put together a great panel over at the legislature that made that abundantly clear. The ZEVs have the potential to increase jobs both in the electric vehicle arena and in the hydrogen arena. And we believe that if this is done right and the vehicles come to market, we can actually save consumers money by utilizing these vehicles in their fleets, and as consumers, it frees up revenue to spend in other ways on the economy. So the kinds of things we are thinking about for our action plan under this heading would be working with Joel and the CCAT group and to create more partners for our hydrogen future. Showcasing business success stories and expertise that's already out there. Partnering with the Department of Economic Development to assess the actual impact on the economy and show this is good for our future. We're also convinced that fleets and the employers are key. A lot of the vehicle miles driven are to and from workplaces, and that requires employers to think about putting in charging infrastructure for their employees. And fleets are an opportunity for lots of people to see and touch and feel these new vehicle technologies and realize the benefits. We also think it's a chance for businesses to actually save money with these vehicles in their fleet. So promoting workplace charging is going to be key to our work efforts. Another area the department and the state has been very strong in is leading by example. And that's been going on in the energy efficiency world and the solar and alternative energy worlds. It needs to continue to go on with preparing for these new vehicle technologies. Here at the department, we've already put in a charger for the employees to use. And we're working hard to get chargers available under state contracts, so municipalities and state agencies have the ability in one step to procure the equipment. And through the regional effort, there is ongoing dialogue about what the best practices for building codes should be. So we see that evolving too. Another area we are looking at is the electric rates and what's necessary to facilitate the zero-emission vehicle and clean cars market. our PURA, our regulatory arm that does the rate setting, has a number of things in play this year already. And we foresee looking at best practices from other states through our multi-state effort under the MOU. We anticipate that will evolve and we will get good information. We know we need to increase the marketing and awareness of the various rates and metering options so people know and it's transparent what they're going into. And there's a docket right now underway to set EV rate and inform future design. And we look forward to seeing the outcome of that and furthering how we charge for electricity that's used in transportation. There are a number of federal partners that we know we need to be working with. The ability to allow plug-in vehicles into high occupancy vehicle lanes requires federal authorization. There's a lot of interest in chargers at rest stops. Whether or not that's viable depends on where the electricity is and whether federal highways allows it. And the U.S. Department of Energy, who's here today, has efforts going on to streamline standards for hydrogen fueling. So we'll be working with federal partners. In talking to Joel and the CCAT folks, they are developing infrastructure plans and goals for hydrogen and for deploying the vehicles. We know that we need to continue our partnerships with the automakers, the hydrogen producers and distributors, government and equipment manufacturers to be ready for a hydrogen future. So in summary, we've put together a series of actions we think we should take and focus on now. That's what's on this slide, and hopefully you can see them. I've gone through them. They're just reiterated all in one place on this slide. At the same time we're doing this, there is this regional multi-state action plan effort going on. There's 4 work groups looking at different areas, and as they go through the idea development, the planning, and developing regional actions, that will further inform what we need to be doing at the state level, and we'll know better what's going on elsewhere.